Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Every now and then we sit with some incredible people. They are what we call our Houston legends. These are individuals who have made significant contributions to our great city. And today we have none other than Judge Eric Andel. He's going to talk to you a little bit about his career and his love and advocacy for the juveniles that we have, not only in this great city, but across the country. He's dedicated his life to this great city as a judge. He served as senior judge, First Court of Appeals for the state of Texas. Go Cougs. He's a University of Houston Law Center graduate and a great friend of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. Judge Andel, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And your generosity of your time, your passion for the juveniles in our great region is evident in a lot of different ways. But let's start with, you became a judge. Why was that important to you?
You know, I think every profession we choose has a certain balance, not even a balance, probably imbalanced of wants and needs.
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to get, as early as high school, I knew I wanted to be in politics, and I set in my mind that the best way to do that would be to go to law school. That was just, whatever happened after that, I don't know, but at least I had a straight track.
Okay.
And I kept that dream, and I went to law school. And during law school, I got to know some of the juvenile court judges through internships, particularly Judge Chris Cole of the 315th Court. And I started working with him, and he started asking me to help him with some charities, and Mayor Lanier got involved. And so I got in the habit of starting programs or helping start programs, being on original boards as young as right out of law school. And then the big break I got was that County Judge Lindsay put me on the back then it was called Mental Health Mental Retardation Authority of Harris County at age 29. So there I was in a position, a well-known position, and became vice chair of now it's the authority, and they wanted me to take over all children's issues, and I think that's the turning point. At age 29, vice chair of the authority, what it's called now,
yes,
working on children's issues. That was the springboard. That was a springboard.
And fast forward, you continue to stay involved, and you have been so involved in the community despite a very hectic schedule. Tell us some of the most important organizations and things that have really been impactful in your life, because many times we think about all the things that one does to serve others, but what a lot of folks don't realize is how it impacts us as individuals. I imagine you've got a couple of stories of some of the work you've done and how it's really changed your disposition.
Well, exactly. I've always felt that the more we give to kids, the more we're going to get back, and it's a little pay it forward. Now, I don't know exactly everything I started is still around, but I do know it all started pre-Governor White putting me on the 315th bench, ironically, Judge Chris Cole. At that time, I was working with Mayor Lanier, and we started Hope Center for Youth, which was a wilderness program, taking kids out of the inner city, those were the juvenile kids, out of the inner city, putting them into a setting in which there wasn't any pressure, and we tried to rebuild their lives. And that became a very successful program. Well, one thing leads to another. Once someone in the community finds that you will volunteer to do this, your resume grows pretty long. You should know that. I mean, once they find out that you're willing to do that. So Hope Center, of course, was one of the leading edges of my being involved and putting me into a tier of meeting people that would help me if I needed a program. Then I got to know Superintendent Rod Page, oh, yes, and we started an inner city program about bringing mostly lawyers into the public schools to be substitute teachers, so that we could start to learn what was really going on in the public schools. And then I started, when I became a juvenile court judge, my crown, I guess there's no crowning the top, but while I was sitting on the juvenile bench actively, I'm sitting there now, Judge Michelle Moore put me back on. She said, you're getting back, you're not retiring, so I'm back full time on the 314th. Okay. On the 315th, what I noticed was when kids were being expelled or suspended, they wound up on the streets of Houston. Well, the public didn't know that. If you expel a kid and there's no alternative, where do you think they are? They're on the streets of Houston when everyone is in some bad, nothing but bad can happen from that. So I forced the school districts to start a school for kids who had been suspended. We called that High Point High School. So now I had a place to have a credit recovery high school, because these kids weren't going to get through. And it builds. You just keep building and building and building.
You saw a need, you identified it, and going back to the relationships, you were able to pull this off, being with Rod Page and others, and you connected the dots for this community.
Well, so much so that when Rod went to D.C. to become Secretary of Education, he pulled me along with him, and I became Deputy Undersecretary of Education. So I was able to at least instill some work on the federal side.
Correct.
Of that under President Bush at the time.
Very important. Okay, so we're going to go back in time a little bit.
Let's go back.
First job.
My first job was, of course, I worked in a family business, but I will put that aside.
Well, but what did you do there? What was that? I'm
My
talking
name-
about not professional career.
This,
but
okay,
like-
but I'll take you back to age 12, 13, 14.
There you go.
But, okay. So my dad was a manufacturer of women's sportswear.
Okay.
It's family business, and he was second generation immigrant. So the family worked in the business. That was just of course. I mean, that's what you do. So I would go downtown and get piece goods, bolts of piece goods, zippers, buttons, whatever, and bring them. And I would clip threads, and I would pack and ship. And I just learned how to run a business, women's manufacturer
And this
in
is
Dallas.
before the days of Amazon, so.
Right, you just shipped everything out by central freight at the time.
Okay.
That was my first job.
Okay.
But my parents wouldn't let any of the kids get away with not working. We came from a very industrious, and most second, third generation immigrant. That's what you are. They're very industrious. They come from industrious families overseas. So I always worked. I worked during my childhood and. All the way through high school and frankly all the way through college. So the work ethic, which is part of what drives me too. I mean, I have an ethic. I was instilled with a very positive work ethic that nothing is going to come my way. You have to work for everything, and you hope that you're going to produce good by working for everything. So that's the start. I waited. Through newspapers. I popped popcorn, and I took tickets at a movie theater. I've done
it all.
I've done it all.
You've
Head
done
waiter at my fraternity house at University of Arizona, undergraduate. Worked through there. Worked at a bank my senior year.
Very good.
And then got a scholarship for law school, so that really helped.
Absolutely.
That really helped.
So you have children. Talk to us about that.
I do have. I have 2 children. My daughter and son live here in Houston. They started their quick careers. My son went to University of Southern California. And my daughter went to University of Arizona, but she wound up in L.A. She was in the movie industry. She did 3 movies, and they both got their MBAs from Rice. So they're back home, and they're in family businesses back home. And I've got 3 grandchildren.
Okay.
I've got a freshman, now a sophomore at the University of Georgia.
Okay.
And I've got a grandson who's a junior at Strake.
Okay.
And another grandson, my little John, is at St. Anne's in the 3rd grade.
Excellent.
So that's my family.
That's your family.
That's
so
my family.
For your family, given your career trajectory and all of the many things that you've been involved with, what would you like your legacy to be?
Well, I haven't fulfilled it yet because I'm still working, as you know, some new programs to fulfill some voids that I see. But I think when we give, we get more back than what we have given. And I want my legacy to reflect some of these programs that there's no name attached to it. There's no plaque. No one knows that I was the founding father, if you will, now I guess grandfather. But nevertheless, that's what I want. I don't care that I don't get the credit. I just want programs to be in effect that outlive me, sustain me. Well, Petrocare now is my crowning. Now I've got another crown jewel that didn't even exist, nor did I think it would ever exist. So there's a lot of things that's what I want. We've got great programs that are still going. High Point High School is still going.
Yes.
Some of the others are not.
Yes. So let's talk about this crown jewel that is Petrocare Foundation. Arnold Gacita, board member, he and I visited, and he said he wanted to start an orphanage in Brazil somewhere.
Right.
He was trying to figure out how to get that set up, and I listened to him, and I do believe that there's a higher power, and I'll say that it was not a coincidence that just 2 weeks before my conversation with him, I'd visited with you and Judge Michelle Moore, correct?
Absolutely.
And you talked about a serious situation with our juveniles and foster care, and once they were out, they had nowhere to go, and same issue, they'd end up on the streets.
Correct.
So as I was listening to Arnold talk about his passion for doing something and wanting to help, I said, you know what? I think you and Judge Endale should talk. He's doing some great things, and maybe there's something that you guys can do together here locally, and I'll get out of the way. And I sent the email, and you guys connected. I'll stop there.
It was the most amazing, it remains the most amazing set of events that I've ever been part of, the alacrity of it. So I go out and meet him at his office, wonderful guy, and they serve lunch even better. But the board was there, and they wanted me to talk about they wanted to tell me their idea, which was fine. Great board. And they looked at me, and I was just kind of nodding my head, and, okay, orphanage. And the reason they said orphanage, because a dealership in New Orleans, I believe, had done that, and great results, because anything you do for kids on a consistent basis will bring good results.
Yes.
I said, well, what do you need? What do you think about it? I said, it's great. But I said, I have different needs in different areas, and that won't help anything that I'm dealing with right now, meaning a polite way to say, hey, good luck, Godspeed. But what do you need? I said, well, I need a program that helps my kids, because I hear all the child abuse and foster care cases for the 314th. That's a heavy load and heavy burden. But my need is when they get to be 18, they don't get kicked to the curb necessarily, but they get kicked to the curb. The system itself is relatively through with them.
Yes.
And what do they do? What have we done? What did we do when we took them out of their homes when they were 8, 9, 10? The older you are, you're not going to get adopted. So I said, they really need something to do. They need a skill set, whatever. And I left it at that. I thought I'd made a nice Kiwanis Club speech, and I'd never hear from them again. I mean, 30 seconds later, as you know, he put together a program that enrolls them in college,
Yes.
mechanics 1 certificate, brings them to his place where they have a lift, pays for the professor, they get the certificate, guaranteed job by all the car dealers who have signed on to the program. We get their driver's license, et cetera. We've graduated over 100 kids now
Yes. Yes.
with driver's license, GEDs, or high school diplomas, and
Absolutely.
they're all working.
Correct.
And we have about 80% graduation rate, unheard of for these kids from
Yes.
college.
Yes. So I attended the first gala, and what a happy moment to see a conversation that started with two very different ideas come together, get executed, and then the end result with these young adults who were so proud to have gone through the program, and as you said, are now working. And that's what Houston's about. That's what you've been about. That's what we do at the Hispanic Chamber. We connect people all day, and we hope that there's a way that they can make things happen. We've got a philanthropic community that supports these kinds of things because we need it, and without it, we can't execute. But this is who you are, and this is who you have been. And I'm sure, aside from this particular story, there are countless of other things that you've done throughout your career where you've connected someone, and everybody in this town knows you. And there are people walking around this town, and God knows where else, that you helped when you were on the bench or off of the bench. And we just wanted to make sure that we took a moment to say thank you for doing that, and for being a great example, and for caring about this great city so much.
I sure do.
So before we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to say to folks who are watching?
Well, I think anyone listening can play a role individually on helping kids. I think there's a role for everybody, where it's volunteering at a food bank or volunteering at a school. Anything you can do, these kids will absorb it.
Yes.
They just need we need to make a generational change and start a new chapter of their lives, and we're capable of doing that if we put the effort into it, and manpower perhaps rather than financial, but it does take both. It does take both. So yes, we all have a role to play if we want to change the direction of these kids' lives.
Yes. And it can be big, it can be small, and we need people at all life cycles
Absolutely.
of these ideas and thoughts. Well, Judge, thank you so much for being here
My
today.
pleasure.
And on behalf of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, our board, our staff, we thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you.
And we appreciate the legacy that you are leaving in this great city.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Doctor.
you.
Appreciate it.
Well, thanks for joining us. And as we sit here with none other than Judge Eric Endell, as a friendly reminder that there's always something that one can do to continue to support our youth and support this great city. Thanks for joining us. The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading advocate for the Hispanic business community. In Houston, we represent over $54 billion per year in consumer spending. Our thanks to our board and staff for making sure we elevate business and advocate for a stronger economy.
Some of medicine's greatest advancements look like they're out of the latest sci-fi. Others were developed spending countless hours in a lab, or push the limits of what technology can do. And yet, one of our most powerful tools is something far more simple, more human. It's a calling to connect with purpose and to care more deeply. That's how we're evolving healthcare, by treating people, not just patients, with innovations that amplify healing, with technology that empowers more personalized care, and with research that leads to breakthrough treatments. Guided by the belief we all hold the power to heal.
Being local means making the connections that matter most, like a walk in Buffalo Bayou Park or a coffee meetup with new friends. With free resources and events, AARP is a lot closer than you think, right here in Houston. Working together to improve sidewalk safety, visiting a new exhibit at the Asia Society, or cheering on your home team at a baseball game. Get to know the local side of AARP and click on what clicks with you at aarp.org/local.
The Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is the leading advocate for Hispanic business in our region. In Houston, we represent over $54 billion per year in consumer spending. Our thanks to our volunteers, sponsors, board of directors, and staff as we work to advocate for business and for a stronger economy. Learn more by visiting the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce website, HoustonHispanicChamber.com. Hello, I'm Dr. Laura Murillo, President and CEO of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. It is my honor to recognize our next Houston legend. On behalf of the Houston Hispanic Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors and staff, we recognize Houston legends who have contributed a great deal to our region. Today we have no other than Dr. Jackie Valley. She's here today to talk a little bit about the many things that she's done, especially one of them that we're particularly proud of her. She just completed her doctorate. Dr. Jackie,
Hi.
congratulations and
Thank you
welcome.
so much. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Absolutely. So Dr. Jackie has served as a public official, a philanthropist, policy advisor. She and I serve on the Harris County Women's Commission, where she serves as chair. She's also served as chair of the YMCA Capital Campaign, and her personal journey is an incredible one. She's very proud of her culture. She's shaped leadership. She's an influencer, and this has been an active part of our civic and business community. Dr. Jackie, you're everywhere, and I know because I see you everywhere.
Because you're everywhere.
And I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's not easy. You've juggled so many different things, and it really takes a detailed person and also someone who's very focused and strategic. And you do it with a smile because I know you. I've known you for a very long time, and you're dedicated to what you do. You're a mother, you're a wife, and it's just all around good person. And you have a zest for life. Most of all, I mean, I see it in your passion and your energy. And that's one of the many reasons why we wanted to recognize you as a Houston legend. You serve as an example of what can be done in this great city thanks to great people like yourself.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's important that we lift those who don't have opportunities. And a lot of my service comes through opening doors for those people who don't have a voice at times. So my background, I came from the Caribbean, and my family, public service and community service is in my DNA. My cousin is the current governor for St. Martin. My grandmother and my grandfather was a council person in St. Martin. And so it makes sense that I would want to give back, either through community service, through my philanthropic activities, or maybe just through mentorship. And I say just mentorship. I've been teaching at U of H for over 18 years. And it's not just going in the classroom and teaching. It's also helping my students. My students are often first generation college students, just like I was. They don't know exactly what to do. They don't know where to go next. I have students from over a decade who are still contacting me, asking me for help. And it's my pleasure. I feel that's my duty. This state and this country has given so much to me and so many other immigrants. Do you know that 30% of us in Houston are immigrants?
Yes.
So Houston opens up doors for a lot of us, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we continue to open more doors for the next generation.
How long have you been in Houston?
If I tell you how many years, I'll tell you my age.
Okay.
But I came here at 7, so I've been here since I was very
7.
small.
So this is home.
It is. It really
This is home. What part of Houston did you grow up in?
So North Shore, which is on the east side.
Okay.
And I spent all of my years there until I got married the first time. Then I went to Sugar Land,
Okay.
which was 30 years in Sugar Land, and now I'm back in Houston.
Yes.
So I've been pretty much in the Houston region, and I've never left. And giving back and making sure that we continue to see just how Houston has grown and the many activities that I've done is something that I've had the number of years to see.
Yeah.
I started as a city and regional planner, and one of my biggest projects was the Sugar Land Town Center. And I also was very intricately involved in the expansion of I-10. Those two were my big projects early on in my career. And I said, if I'm going to be helpful in infrastructure, I want to be helpful to the people who are riding the infrastructure, the people who are residing in these buildings. And so my service turned more into focusing on people.
Okay.
Which is why you see a lot of my philanthropic efforts with the YMCA or with American Cancer Society. I wanted to make sure that not only the surfaces are being taken care of, but the people are taken care of as well.
So specifically, working on your doctorate, everything else has to keep going. You're
Yes.
still teaching at the University of Houston. Even though your young men are grown, they still require some of your time, and your philanthropic activity continued. So how did you make that happen, and not the traditional path of right out of college, but later in life?
Well, as you mentioned, a lot of dedication, a lot of determination. I waited until my last son graduated, and I sent my last check to Harvard, and I said, okay, now it's time for me to start applying to various doctoral programs.
Yes.
And as I did that, I heard from USC, and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to give this a shot. So there was a lot of traveling, especially for the first 2 years, so I can finish the coursework, and then my dissertation, I was able to do a lot of that via Zoom and Teams. My dissertation chair was phenomenal. And I focused on the retention and graduation rates of African American students because I wanted it to be a working document, something that I can actually use at U of H and something I can use with my students. And my administrators and I, we are incorporating a lot of those policies. And so that really gave me a lot of pleasure. But it's funny you bring that up because I also chaired Cattle Barons Ball and Tickle Pink during this, which are the two largest American Cancer Society events.
Yeah.
And at first, when I took this role on, I thought, this will be easy. Well, yeah, after staying up at 2 o'clock in the morning and various activities. But you know what? We raised over $2 million for American Cancer Society.
Yes.
And I finished my doctorate on time. Thank you for letting me in the club, the 2% club. And so it all worked out. But at the time, yeah, there was a lot of sleepless nights,
Yes.
determination and drive. But I knew what I was working on was worth it.
And it absolutely is. You'll never regret it. And it's an example to others, especially to women, to minorities, that you don't have to follow any prescribed path, that whatever is right for you. Thank goodness now for technology, as you mentioned. There's so much more that we can do, and as women, that we're not limited by
Right.
our age, the skin color, our income, that there are opportunities out there. And that's one of the many reasons why we wanted you to be one of our Houston Legends, Jackie,
Thank you so
because
much.
you've given a lot of your time. You've raised phenomenal young men.
Thank you.
They are absolutely phenomenal
Thank
young
you so
men.
much.
And you were a single mom, and for many out there, it can be overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a single mom. I've been a single mom since they were 10 and 13. It is not easy, but for the grace of God, that, I had angels and others to help, raise my 2 daughters. But I do believe that there are a lot of single moms that often feel overwhelmed and have to make sacrifices. And so I want you to talk a little bit about some of the hard times, because we see you
Sure.
out there, we see you on social media, but you had some hard times.
Sure, we've all had hard times.
Yeah.
Yes, specifically for me, I wanted to make sure that my sons were not impacted by a lot of the turmoil that often goes with divorce. So I actually picked up around 2 or 3 jobs at the time. I was consulting. I was also teaching. At that point, I was teaching part-time, and then I started teaching full-time. And my consulting turned into 2 tiers, right? And often I wanted to be home, especially my eldest, he played a lot of baseball. And then my youngest did a lot of debate. So I wanted to make sure I was home for their activities, but then I had these other jobs that kept the lights on. So that meant stopping into the game and then also going to my events and then coming home at midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock, and then turning around and dropping them off in carpool and smiling. But it was really important that I showed them that hard work and integrity is important.
Yes.
And even though at times I probably got 5 hours at best, but I've often thought that your disposition and your personality really is the pathway to your future. And so my youngest son says I'm the most optimistic person he's ever met. And I think your optimism and your mindset really takes you through a lot of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they learn by what they see, not
Yes.
necessarily what you say. So they saw a lot. They saw Mom working hard, and
Yes.
you continue to do that. And one of the last things that I want to ask you is your legacy. What would you like your legacy to be?
I would like my legacy to be leadership is based on resilience and skill sets, but barriers should not hinder your leadership trajectory. The boards that I serve on, the work that I do in policy, and my philanthropic work, all of that is to uplift and help those who may not have an opportunity. And I've been a statewide appointee for over 14 years. And one of them is helping universities bring a lot of researchers to Texas universities. We've given them over $116 million. And the reason why I'm so passionate about that is because if the education is given to these opportunities given to these students, they can fly. If they're given the skill sets, they can fly. So I want my legacy to be, you've been given this opportunity for many generations to come.
Well, you've done that, and I know there's a lot more still to come. So thank you for all that you have done. And on behalf of our board of directors, our staff, and our city, congratulations on being named one of Houston's Legends.
Thank you so much. What an honor. It's
Thank
really
you.
been wonderful. Thank you.
And I've enjoyed watching you over the decades together. doing great things, Dr. Jackie.
Right back at you.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. I'm Dr. Laura Murillo. Thank you for joining us on Houston Legends.